Welcome to LSC, it's Sports Time. I'm your host, Bob Hintz. Today I have with me the first football coach at Phoebus High School, Phil Smith. Glad to have you here.
Nice being here, Bob.
Let's go back a little bit. You graduated from high school. You went to Huntington High School in Newport News.
Huntington High School.
Tell me a little bit about it, because back then you had black high schools and white high schools.
That's right. I graduated from Huntington High School in 1955, Bob. I played under the legendary coach Thad Madden.
Thad Madden, I remember that name.
And his assistants at that time, outstanding, went on to be administrators, Raymond Crittenden, Walter Kane. They went on to be administrators in the school system. But I lived on the 2 blocks from my high school. And graduated 55. I played 5 years there, starting as an 8th grader. Made All-State my senior year, and when I left there in 55, I had set the record for the most touchdowns scored in one season by a player, which was 10, which stood when the school was dissolved.
Right. Now, you was a fullback.
Halfback in high school.
Oh, halfback in high school.
Yes.
Like a scat back. They couldn't catch it.
We ran the T formation. We used to call it split T at that time.
Right. They were made popular by Bud Wilkinson in Oklahoma.
My man, yeah, that's right. And the Maryland Terps sort of tweaked it up on the East Coast.
Right. And then after that, then you went to college down at Elizabeth City State?
Elizabeth City State. I was recruited by Coach Bob White down in Elizabeth City State. I was the first athlete to leave the peninsula to go to Elizabeth City.
Wow.
Yeah.
Then what kind of career did you have down there?
Oh, I went down as my freshman year. I broke into the lineup and played quite a bit as a freshman. Had a very good career there. Was captain my senior year, and I think I ended up third in the CIAA in rushing, and graduated there. I had an outstanding career, and very well established as an alum of the school at the present time.
Right. Then you graduated. And did you have a teaching degree?
Oh yeah, okay. Sure. Oh yeah,
Did you know you wanted to coach?
Oh yeah. I always wanted to be like my high school coaches.
Okay.
Yeah. See, my mentor and idol was Coach Raymond Crittenden.
Right.
You know, he was my personal. Matter of fact, I ended up working under him at Denby. Right. But that was always my thing, because I lived near the high school, and I hung out around the athletic complex all the time as a boy.
Right.
And that was my ambition.
Now, when you left Elizabeth City State University, did you go, is that when you went to Smithfield?
I went to West Side High School. I was hired by my athletic director and coach, the legendary coach Bobby Vaughn, and Raymond Crittenden, who was my high school coach.
Right.
I was hired by their schoolmate, their college schoolmate, who was principal.
Okay.
So they were my references.
Okay, and while you were there, you had pretty good success in coaching.
Very fortunate.
A couple of state championships.
Very fortunate. I ran into some great kids.
Right.
Great kids. You know, a coach is no better than his material and his assistant coaches.
Right.
So I went there in '61, and I think I was there for 1 year, and the second year they made me head coach. And I think I was there from '61 until '69. And our last 3 years, we were undefeated, 30-0. We won 3 VIA state championships. At that time,
right.
In the state of Virginia, the school districts in the state were separate.
Right.
You had the black, which was the VIA,
right.
and you had the white, which was now the Virginia High School League, which still stands.
Right.
The VIA was really absorbed by the Virginia High School League.
All right, and I was talking to you about how you got to Denby, and you said, well, they combined the schools, integration, they combined the schools, and you went from a head coach winning 3 state championships, and they're going to tell you to do what?
Well, my superintendent, Mr. Reeser, good guy. You know, as a matter of fact, he would bring his visitors out to watch us practice and play. But, you know, at that time, like he told me, he said, Coach, I just can't do any better. You know, said, we're going to make you assistant football coach, PE teacher, and driver education teacher. And I said, Mr. Reese, I said, there's no way in the world I can take that. I've done too much here, and I put in too much work. And of course, I was young then too.
Right.
You know, and I left the day after our conference and went home. Told my wife she was at home expecting our youngest son, and told him I didn't want to work another day after the day. So he told the principal, say, go talk to him. He's upset. So my wife was expecting. She wasn't working. I had a house note and I had a car note.
And then,
she said, boy, I said, you better go back to work.
You better get that job. But you ended up at Denby.
Oh, yeah.
And how did you get into Denby? Again, through the connections you had when you were at Huntington, correct?
Very fortunate. Mr. Cowboy Range, called him
Cowboy Range.
Cowboy Range, legendary coach and man of PE in the Newport News city.
Right.
He was the head football coach at Newport News High School when I was a student at Huntington and a player, and he was friends with my high school coaches. So he had kept up with me, you know, in terms of me being over there and all. And so I did not get the job, and my high school coach, who had been assigned to Denby as assistant principal, told me, he said, give me a few days, Phil, then you call Cowboy and we can see how things work out. So I called Cowboy, and he said, Phil said, come up here to see me. So I took another day out of school. And my wife said, what are you going to do, boy? So I took another day out of school. I went to see Mr. Range.
Right.
And very, very fine gentleman. And when I walked into his office, he extended his hand, and he said, Phil said, come on in. So you should have been home. So
coming back home, Newport
News. That's how I got to, he told me, he said, now, we don't have a head coach's job, Phil. He said, but I'm going to make you a physical education resource teacher. I'm going to put you downtown in your old neighborhood. I'll give you 3 schools to run the physical ed program, the resource program.
Right.
He said, now, somebody's going to pick you up as an assistant this year, and we'll have a head job. It won't be long. That first year, I was made assistant at Denby.
Right.
Then that spring of that next year, the head coach resigned at Denby, and I was made head football coach at Denby that next year.
And first black head coach on the peninsula.
In the state of Virginia.
In the state of Virginia.
Yeah, because you see, that was Virginia High School League.
Right.
And they did not see my good friend Herman Boone, who talks about, remember the Titans. Herman and I are good friends. Herman made the movie, but Herman was the second.
You were the first.
I was the first. Yeah, my good friend Herman.
How about that?
Yeah, Herman made the movie.
Well, that had to be a unique experience.
Well, great. I ran into great parents.
And that helps.
And great people.
Yeah.
You see, I think one thing that really made that a unique situation, 95 or 98% of the kids at Denby were military from Fort Eustis.
Right, okay.
All around that Stony Brook.
Right, absolutely. All that would go.
All of that. All those kids basically were kids that were military connected.
Right.
So their parents and the kids have been exposed to an integrated setup long before the general public was.
Okay.
So we had great kids. As a matter of fact, one of those great kids that played for me was at my fair in February. He's an executive for Food Lion up in the Petersburg area. He finished Denby, went on to Virginia State, had an outstanding career there, and he's one of the executives up at Food Lion.
Well, now, how did you get from Denby to Phoebus?
Well,
first head coach at Phoebus. Brand new school. In fact, you didn't even know where it was.
You know where it was. Well, I was doing fine at Denby. Parents were great. Only problem that if I had a complaint, you can't have everything. I didn't have the athletes that I had at Westside.
Right.
You understand? I didn't have the athletes at that time. At that time, Denby had about 20, I guess they had about 2,500 students.
Right.
Yeah, about 2,500 students. So the city of Hampton, I understand, was interested, not the city of Hampton at that time, but certain people in the city of Hampton. Mr. Joe King, who was a member of the Hampton School Board at that time, and Mr. Sanderford, who was the president of the Hampton NAACP. They had been on the Hampton school system about hiring a person of color in that position as head football coach,
Right.
which they did not have after integration. So they had told them that they were building a new Phoebus High School, and that would be a position that they would fill with a minority. And I was approached by those two gentlemen. And as I said, I told them that I have a job. But the situation was very inviting, and I was very close to home. About 5 or 6 minutes, I could leave my house, and I could be at Phoebus.
Wow.
And my neighbor showed me where the school was when I asked him, where are they building this school? Very
Ireland Street. Where's Ireland Street?
beautiful school. I mean, nothing around here ever looked like it.
Right.
Windowless.
Right.
We had gymnasiums with 3 basketball courts. And the administration, Mr. Musselman, Ms. Arnetta Washington, and Mr. Tom Bailey.
Tom Bailey was assistant principal,
and they had been made in charge under Mr. Musselman, the administrators.
Right.
And they were all great people. And Mr. Satella, superintendent, talked with me and was very pleased and open arms, and it was an ideal situation, so I accepted it.
Well, talk a little bit about some of the assistant coaches you had.
Well,
Some good coaches.
We had to have some. We went into a building. We had Big Al Lewis. We had Wade Trainum and Mike Horton. They were the early first 3 coaches, along with myself. And we had to move the equipment into the school. Chuck Winder was the city athletic director there.
Yeah, I remember Chuck Winder.
And we had to order, get the equipment straight. I had to move it in. We had to clean off the field, and Coach Trainer would bring his lawnmowers. And
He was good at cutting grass.
And we would cut the grass and have the kids to pick up the rocks, so we have a practice area.
So it wasn't laid out and ready to go. You guys had a lot of work to do.
They had a lot of work to do, and it was one of those things that we work around the clock and on Saturdays, and we got it done, and we were very fortunate. We didn't play a varsity schedule that first year. We played a mixed schedule, mostly JVs. The teams that we played could play no 12th graders.
Right, so they could play 11th graders.
That's right.
Down,
but
no seniors, because you didn't have any seniors.
We didn't have any seniors.
But you did play like Pocosin, so you did play some teams that had a full roster. But you went undefeated, and this is kind of unique. First year undefeated, and now we come back. Last 2 years undefeated.
Yeah,
so I mean, this is
come full circle.
Come full circle. Now, when you were there, you had in fact, you had one player on your team who was now the head coach over there.
Yeah, Stan Sexton. Stan. When I left, that Stan was a 10th grader. Stan's dad, Bert, was an outstanding coach of Little League.
Right.
Because I got a lot of players that had played under Stan's dad. And Stan played for his dad. And my son played for Stan's dad, who came to play for me. And he was a 10th grader when I left there. And as I said before, we had a unique situation where kids were really willing to come in. And the curriculum at the school enticed a lot of kids to come there, because they had that, what's the name of the
robotics?
Robotics, I call it cooking, but it isn't cooking. What's the name?
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. They got their own, their own little...
that's right, dining hall.
Dining hall, where the students learn how to cook.
That's right. They had, in the shop area, they had a couple of programs, graphic arts, that no other school had.
This year, it was done in February this year. That had to be... make you feel pretty good.
Yeah, I was real, I've been real blessed and fortunate. I had no idea. Some of the guys that told me earlier said, Coach said, we're going to do something for you. So I said, well, man, you guys don't have to do anything for me as long as you guys are prospering and doing well and, keep in touch with me. That's good enough. So about, I would say about 8 or 9 months ago, I found some of them contacting my wife and talking with her. And then I guess maybe about a couple of months before the affair, they started coming to me for information and told me that they were going to try and bring in all 3 schools that I had worked and put on a roast. And I said, where are you going to have it? They said, the Hampton Convention Center. So I said, you got to be kidding. So they said, no. So they put it together, And we had over 200, we had about 200, I got about 250 kids and their families to come, you know, some from out of town. And it was, you know, I got kids in there that are lawyers and federal judges, you know.
Isn't it nice to be able to see these kids, how they excelled?
Yeah, they've done an outstanding job. And that was, you know, I was real pleased with that.
I'm going to wrap this thing up, but I've enjoyed talking to you. I really appreciate you coming in. But, you know, we talk about athletes a lot going on, but there's a key to this thing, and it's the student first, the student athlete. And you're a good example of that. Not only were you excellent at Huntington High School, but then you went down to Elizabeth City State, excelled, but got your degree and used what you could, you used your degree to better not only yourself, but the people you come in contact with. What would you say to a group of student athletes?
You see, Bob, my high school coaches that I came under, I took what they gave me, and I just tried to project what I got from them, as well as my college coaches, to the people that I work with.
Right.
And my philosophy has always been, I'm not interested in getting them ready for Division I. I'm interested in getting them ready for Division I world.
There you go.
You understand?
Good, Bill.
Yeah.
Good point.
Division I world, because you can have a team, it can be undefeated, and only a small number of those kids are really Division I players. So why gear your whole program? You've got those kids in between. You've got those kids that some will never put a football suit on once they leave high school, but they've been with you 3 and 4 years. So anytime you've got a person's attention, and they put all those hours of sweat with you, you know how young people are. You can keep sliding things in on them, and they don't know what's going on until it happens.
Right.
So if you're giving them values and skills that can be enhance them for life, they'll have them before they know it, because they've been with you 3 or 4 years.
Right.
And that's what you do. That's the key to it.
Very good.
You gotta give them something,
yeah, well,
not just take.
Right.
You understand?
Well, you've done that well, or you wouldn't have had that big thing in February.
Thank you, Bob.
Well, I want to thank you for tuning in to LSC and Sports Time. I want to thank my special guest, Phil Smith, for coming in and sharing with us today. I'm your host, Bob Hintz. Until next time.